Back with another riveting episode of Never Ending Adventure. I am your host, Diggity DJ, Nettie P. And here with you today is our other co-host, DJ Rusty's.
Yeah, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm coming off a little vacation, a little Disney World trip, and so I'm half relaxed and good to go, and half like, holy shit, I got to catch up with the rest of my life.
Man, well, while you were on the World of Disney, what parks did you visit?
We did 4 parks in 2 days. So
4 parks in 2 days? So you did the half day thing.
Yeah, we did the half day thing, and we rode everything. So
did you? How'd you have time to ride everything?
Well, they got a crazy little fast pass strategy thing on your phone.
I know, I've tried it. It's impossible.
Yeah,
that's why I'm so confused. How'd you do it all?
Well, first of all, it was September too, so
yeah,
it's way less packed than the summertime.
Was it during a weekday?
Yeah, it was the busy stuff that we did. It was Thursday, late September. So that's kind of how we were able to squeeze stuff in. But no, those little fast pass things work well, man. We were able to pretty much just hit nearly every ride we wanted to.
Wow,
and we were with some crazy Disney folks that were we did not sit down to eat too much. We were on going almost the whole day.
Well, did you have a favorite park? I mean, I'm sure you loved the Star Wars ride, right?
I was gonna kick it off with my recommendation. Obviously, Star Wars was great, but my recommendation of the day, because I was if we're talking about it now, we might as well. That Guardians of the Galaxy ride, which is brand spanking new.
That's brand new. I didn't get to do that when I was down there.
Oh my gosh. It is the best roller coaster I've ever been on in my life.
Wait, why? What makes it so nice?
It's inside, so it's Space Mountain-y with all these graphics and design and stuff all the stuff's happening around you with projections, and there's a giant moon. But then the roller coaster seats turn sideways and backwards while the roller coaster's going. So you're going forward, and then your seats turns backwards, and so then you're riding backwards. It's trippy, dude. It was
I don't know if I could do that. I might feel sick. But we've talked about what is it, Space Mountain, right? Where it's kind of a bummer. You start out and you have this awesome tunnel of lights, and then the rest of it's dark, and there's a moon. But it's they could do so much. They can make it so beautiful.
The back seat of that one too, and I was I'm not one to panic attack, but it felt all the walls were closing in, and I felt I couldn't even move because I thought I was going to hit my head on a rail.
Yeah,
it was nerve wracking.
When we went, that was me getting over my fear of roller coasters, was doing Space Mountain because my nephew and my niece were doing it, or at least my nephew was doing it, and he was 8 or 9 at the time. And so I was I got to do it. I'm an adult man. I got to go do this roller coaster. If he's going to do it, he's going to give me crap for the rest of my life. So I went and did it. And fortunately, or maybe unfortunately, my phone was falling out of my pocket the entire time. So all I could think about was that. Well, yeah, I was all I could think about is my phone. So I wasn't freaking out about the roller coaster so much. And I think that's how I conquered that fear. Now, I still haven't gone upside down, and I don't plan to. But
come on. It's not that bad. No, it's the same thing. Hey, Jackie nearly passed out because she was deathly afraid of roller coasters. We made her get on Tower of Terror first. And then 10 minutes later, we were on Rock 'em Roller Coaster because we got into the park early.
No, dude.
Yeah, and so she did that immediately afterwards. And then she did all the rest of the roller coaster. We did Tron, we did Guardians of the Galaxy, we did Thunder Mountain stuff.
You'll find me at Epcot. That's all I want. I just want to go to Epcot, get some fancy drinks, and have fun.
Fancy drinks. Well, this is not a Disney podcast, so I wanted to give my recommendation and update. What about you, man? What have you been doing?
Oh, I've just been here in Nashville doing my thing, working, having fun, mostly working. I don't even remember what I did Friday, Saturday, but Sunday we went hiking, and about a mile into 3 mile hike, it started pouring down on us, and I gotta say, it was a good time. I'd rather really enjoy it, despite the fact that I was soaking wet at the end of the hike. I almost feel like it made it better, more memorable in a way. And I remember what I did Friday, and it's my rec. My rec is go see A Haunting in Venice, which is a pretty rad little,
it's
like a Clue movie,
that one's the continuation of the Death on the Nile, right?
Yeah, Death on the Nile. And then there was another
we tried
one
watching that one, and it was ass. I couldn't get through 30 minutes.
I liked it. I liked it, man. It's good.
We didn't finish it, so maybe that's why. But like, we were 45 minutes into it, and I was like, "There's no plot. Nothing's happening." Like, we were getting introduced.
Give it time. It's like a Clue movie.
I know, but we were just like getting introduced for like 45 minutes though, and I was like, "There's only an hour left of this movie. Like, how much plot are we actually going to get to?"
I think you should give it another chance. But I mean, it's not like it's an amazing movie. Like, I think the Knives Out movies are far superior in my mind.
They kind of hit that same genre.
It's just a similar thing. But if you like Knives Out, you'll probably like Death on the Nile, and then Murder of the Orient Express or something like that. And then this is the next one. And I had a good time. It was freaky. It was a little scary for me, but I got through it, and it's good. Yeah. But it's good.
Good, man. Well, the best thing I think I've watched recently is the episode we're talking about today, is this episode 4 of Fionna and Cake, which is Prismo the Wishmaster, because holy shit, we just got, I feel like, so many questions answered in this one. Maybe some more to ask, but like, for Adventure Time fans out there, this just like solidified our theories, our theoretically speakings that we had about Fionna and Cake. And I think we're over the hump of like being confused on what's happening in the show. And we have a true, like, this is going to be their adventure now. We don't have to keep guessing what's going on, which I almost have like a sigh of relief about. I don't know about you, if you're kind of feeling like, okay, good, we can like keep going with the adventure without like being like, okay, I don't understand how these worlds are, colliding or whatever.
No, I feel the same way. I think this is a great spot to be in. I'm a little hesitant, and we can get into it a little bit later about the antagonist. Is Scarab truly the antagonist of this whole story?
Think so, yeah.
I don't think so either. I mean, I've got some qualms with that, but I do like Scarab as a character. I think he's got some redeeming qualities, but we'll see.
We'll get into that in a second, because I got thoughts on that one too, because that was as part of the whole like getting to a plot line. But I wanted to start with, I mean, it's hard not to go through this one like walk through. We're not going to like walk through every scene. But I did want to start with the first scene with Scarab and being introduced, and Cairo Siphon, who he might get my lovely, man.
Really?
Yeah, just because it's like, okay, think about conceptually speaking, right? Maybe not the looks, but he's got this like happy little smile on his face. He's running this, what kind of looks like a cosmic micro village, maybe a cosmic truck stop kind of thing, where there's all these like little, possibly homes, possibly like little shops and stuff. And it's obviously for cosmic-esque beings, but he's just running a little tea room and shirking his responsibility of the eternal flame. And I just love that. He was like, "Oh, I don't like eternal flames anymore. All I want to do is serve tea."
Yeah, he's just looking for that quaint little tea life, and he's my lovely as well. So.
Yes. Okay, look at that. Look at that. We both thought he was you looked so happy, and I was like so bummed out when he got turned into a damn gigapet.
Yeah, poor guy turned into an 8-bit electro egg or whatever happened to him, by Scarab, the God Auditor. I mean, what a title. I don't know if that's his official title, but that seems to be what he does.
Yeah.
That's pretty badass. He's a bounty hunter for the cosmic criminals.
Yeah, somewhere between a public servant and a bounty hunter. So
yeah. Dude, I was wondering with the 8-bit electro eggs, right? Forever ago, Ned, think back to season 2, episode 16, Guardians of the Sunshine. Guardians of Sunshine.
How we talked about how you said these were like big giant monsters that BMO had like digitized inside of them. So this does support that theory.
Can we confirm that he's using the same combo move that BMO uses to zap monsters into his video game?
It's part of it's freaking I'm gonna lose all my names now. Scarab has this like power crystal that he keeps, turning into different things. He turns it into a sword, a staff, a freaking magic wand in this episode, and then a little container for these little Neo pet things. So maybe BMO has like he's powered by some sort of like magic crystal somewhere inside.
I don't know.
I
just wonder, I don't know if I'm okay with him being our main antagonist, and I hope he's not necessarily. He does give me like Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chaser vibes. Do you know?
Yeah.
Or Cyber Chase, do you recall that movie?
I remember when it came out. I don't think I saw that one though.
We'll have to look that up later. It's just the kind of sharp edges maybe, and kind of the personality kind of reminded me of him a little bit. But it's essentially a similar idea too, right? And Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase, they're chasing each other, or he's chasing this Scooby-Doo gang through video games. And then my guess is that they're going to be chased throughout different universes throughout the multiverse.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I'm all right with that. I kind of hope that's not what we're about to be getting, but it does feel like that could be exactly where we're going. So
I think,
we'll see.
I think that's going to be a dynamic of it. But I think that we're not going to do that for like 8 episodes straight, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I think there's going to be something a little deeper besides a new universe per episode. Because that would get old quickly.
Yeah, it would. But I loved Sammy. I'm all about that. Of course, I love Avatar: The Last Airbender, and one of the main characters, Uncle Iroh, is all about that quaint little tea life. And so I'm like, maybe this is my future, man. We need to open up a tea shop. Never
I was say that would be my version. Would be like a little wine shop, but like have that same thing, just like a little
tea. You go coffee and tea in the morning, but focus on the tea. Coffee. Come on, and then later in the evening we go wine at say at like 4 p.m. and then we're just like, I don't know, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, and just go into it.
Yeah, that's
I like
what
that.
I'm saying.
I think that's
a good idea.
Maybe
But there's something
retire.
about that quaint life of I don't know. He was semi shirking his responsibilities, but kind of for a good reason. So we'll get into that definitely plays into my lessons of this week.
Okay. Yeah, Scarab, he's like skipping over some other criminals though when he finds Prismo.
Yeah, well, what you
just
don't
weren't quite worth it,
What you don't know is, to my fans out there who didn't catch it, Martin is in his.
I did see him flicking people off.
Yes, that is. I can't say anything on this podcast, but Martin is in there for what was it? Abandonment or not abandonment? What was it? Desertion. Which I've got. Maybe when Martin went off on the little butterfly thing. Maybe when Martin went off into the abyss. That's all I can say, but it's there. I like the reference. Yeah,
we're obviously being a little vague because Russell, has never seen the show before. And so clearly we don't want all the spoilers. Yes, but I think this episode sets it up where it's not going to be too bad. Like, I really don't think there were 1 or 2 things that I'm just like, I'm not going to think about it. That's my my goal.
I was
just
going to
think about it.
I think the things that were in this episode that were Russell specific of just like, yeah, you can take them at face value. It doesn't ruin it too much. But pretty much what you see with Golb and Betty and Simon is how Simon got to be from Ice King to Simon. And so that is probably maybe the worst spoiler of the show, I would assume.
Yeah. And I think we can move on from there. I don't think we
can move on.
Sit on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we've got the 2 lights beeping, and I guess we should address Prismo. Prismo, unfortunately, is not voice acted by Kumail Nanjiani.
Yeah,
anymore,
did you hear why?
Or not for this series. I saw a rumor. Is it true? Is it because his agent mistakenly declined the role without letting him know?
Essentially,
man.
He tweeted that he was like, I can't believe they didn't ask me. I would have done it for free. That's one of my favorite characters.
No, don't say that.
They tweeted him back.
So
They're like, dude, we asked you. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, don't trash us if you turned it down. He's like, what the heck? Let me go talk to my agents. And that's what it was. His agents, I think, got a request. Hey, can Kumail? I don't know how to pronounce it. Kumail. Come in and do this voice acting for a cartoon show. And his agent was like, no, I would assume it was like, no, he does Marvel movies now. Like he's a big time actor.
He's a big shot now.
He would have just, I think they probably thought it was too big for his britches.
That's a bummer, man.
It's a super bummer. But
Sean is fantastic.
Sean, not Seth, excuse me.
Yeah, Sean Rohani, I think is how you say his last name, is really, really good. And I was not distracted at all by the new Prismo voice. It really was pretty spot on, much more so than Lemongrab. Lemongrab definitely took me a bit for a shock, but I think a good reason
Justin
that they
Roiland
didn't use the original voice actor. So
now I'm a little bummed too, because there is a famous guy on TikTok right now who can pretty much do like an exact, like Lemongrab, Rick, and Morty. Like he can do all of the voices exactly the same. So I'm very disappointed they didn't just like reach out to this guy on TikTok and say, "Hey, your voice sounds crazy, and fuck Justin Roiland, and we want you to act it now." But
it's a shame. It's a shame. It just doesn't hit as hard, and I kind of felt like it was unnecessary. Like you can't get. Or you can't have him on the show.
In there?
Just why put it in there at all? Go get a different character. Any other character could have been in a little comedy segment.
I would have said like throw in some more, like if you were going to just peep in on somebody else's universe, like peep in on like Cinnamon Bun or something. That's what I would have done.
Well, they even had a moment in this episode where we flipped a Flapjack for a half second.
Yeah, we had Flapjack in there.
Freaking, I thought that was so funny. I was like, is this do I need to
it's canon, the lore? It's canon now. It's,
I need to figure out the lore of Flapjack, man. We need to do an episode on Flapjack, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, I mean, that almost kind of confirms that if... Okay, so we said that a lot of these universes are created by a wish. They're like wish-created universes. Now, when he flips to the Flapjack universe, he does say, oh, this universe was already here. So there are canon universes that I would assume if they figure out how to travel to the time room, that their universes can branch new universes from wishes made by Prismo. Which is what has happened with Ooh,
You know what the sacred text says? In the beginning, there was Flapjack. So I can only assume
that was the first universe.
That was the first universe of this world. No, I thought that was a cool little plug of a show where I think a lot of the people got their start. A lot of the creators and artists got their start on Flapjack. That generation of people
weird,
on Cartoon
Network.
Weird
to think about like Flapjack being like around / before Adventure Time, I guess.
It is. I know.
That is bizarre. I don't know. But I want to mention that in the multiverse discussion here, that we've definitely overkilled, and I did not want to spend too much time talking about it. I love this fact. We got Wyatt, who is the little sea manatee, opening up with Prismo, depressing the hot tub. It's just like, you don't know what I did to get here.
Oh, yeah. Terrible things.
Terrible things, which is funny because, and then also funny, you don't quite know yet, but it's not really a spoiler. That's Tree Trunks' ex-husband, which I maybe assume was spoiled. Yeah.
So dumb.
And then the alternate universe that he just wishes that it was quiet enough for him to think. So he sends him to silent movie universe, which I assume cartoon. Is a... Now, I almost assume that I bring this up because there's only one aspect I really want to super talk about besides this being hilarious, is that at the very end of this little vision into the universe, the PB gets knocked off the train. Peppermint Butler stops the train from killing Wyatt. And when it flashes back over to Princess Bubblegum on the ground, there is a lich in the cave behind her.
Is that a lich? It was creepy.
It was creepy, but it's got the curly horns. And I was like, oh my gosh, what if we still have the lich around to some degree, but it's just trapped in this like silent movie universe? Like,
is there a lich in every universe? That's something else that I'd be curious about.
That's what I'm curious. I don't think so, because I assume that the core lich is like a cosmic being. It is like a Prismo. It's like a scarab. It's like a cosmic owl. And so my theory, I guess, is that the lich is out there, but it's trapped in this silent movie universe.
That's great. It'd be interesting to see if he comes back to some degree during this series, but I really haven't given him much thought. I mean, that would be a big bad guy. We like big bad guys.
Maybe not in this series, but they left the door open canonically. That's for sure.
Okay. Well, I'm curious. I know, like you said, you don't want to spend too much time talking about the multiverse and whatnot, but I think we do need to talk a little bit about the concept of the creation of Fionna and Cake and where they sit and how it relates to the rest of the multiverse, because it's a little confusing. He creates this world for himself, totally just self-indulgent, which is great. I'm glad he finally did that after a millennium or whatever he says.
However long he's been the Wishmaster.
Eons being the Wishmaster, he finally does this, and he subconsciously just totally copies Finn and Jake and leans into it. I think he even mentions, he's just like, well, all right, let's do it. But it's fascinating to hear that he created this multiverse. It's off of the web, right, of all the other multiverses. And so he holds it like far off of the, like, I don't know, the web or whatever. But then somehow it's also within Ice King's head at the same time. Like it's like the data. I think maybe that's what it is, because at some point he does talk about how Ice King's brain was like a hard drive. Yeah, and so the data of the reality is stored there, but then the reality itself is off of the web, so no one else would notice it. It's kind of confusing.
It's kind of confusing because I think, again, it's more of like it's either all cosmic beings or probably something about Prismo itself, or being the Wishmaster and being at the center of this time room has to maybe have some sort of powers that you can, generate. You have the power to generate universes. You have the power to really do anything. However, everything you do has to be of an influence of somebody else. That you have, like, Prismo can't, well, I don't know, because he sends pickles to Jake, so like he can like interact on his own accord and interact with other universes. I think he can kind of do
anything in a way. I just think there are other people that are looking at the web of multiverses. Like, so
maybe it's like cosmic crimes. Yeah, well, cosmic crimes to like interfere too much with other universes. Like,
yeah.
Again, I think maybe that's why he's like super sad about Jake and Jake possibly being dead. Because he could have stopped it, but he like can't interfere again unless it's it'll be a crime if he interferes, not he can't interfere.
Yeah, I mean his boss or whatever, right? So their universe
I think is the real. I think will be the real villain, whoever Prismo's boss is.
So their universe was an unauthorized universe, and it's way off on its own. Exists off the books. Not part of the multiverse. It's stored in Simon. The data, in my mind, is like in his head, and that's it's just so weird. It's hard to conceptualize.
Yeah, it's a standalone universe inside Ice King's head, and the only portal in and out was, I mean, there wasn't even a portal to get in and out. Like, it's just Prismo, but could store it there.
It was open while he was magical, right? I think the loss of the crown, the lack of magic for Simon, and also for Fionna and Cake, as we learned, is kind of explained by,
which was nice. That was our theory.
Being gone. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was really cool. I thought that totally explained, like, we were like, oh, they are unnatural. Like, oh, and actually, is it, dang, man, I'm sorry. Is it Bubblegum? Is it Gary? Or was it her other friend who's like, I can't remember how long we've known each other for. In the first episode, Fionna Campbell, I think it was Gary when they were in the coffee shop. Yeah, it was
Gary.
Yeah, like, we've been friends for, I don't know, so long. Well, they haven't been friends for forever, since there is no starting point. They were just created as friends, probably, which is really fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, that explains it more than 12 years ago that, like, Simon went crazy. It was that, like, 12 years ago, they were being created in Simon's head. Like, and that's why everything, they're kind of like, we don't know how we started or got here or whatever. So, I think it's a very cool concept. We do see there's one moment in an Adventure Time episode about Fionna and Cake where you see a laser beam come into Ice King's room and put the Fionna and Cake stories in his head, but it is never explained. So that's like this is the answer to that episode, which is like
it's a
probably
pretty
why.
Good answer.
Yes, it is a great answer that he did that. That also trying to open up a portal to get Betty back is what opened up the portal of essentially an inaccessible universe, and that it took the power of Golb to open the portal, open the universe that was off the grid, and now it's been exposed. So it's I love the concept of, and now I've got 3 theories too on this. On what we can. That one, we're going to be trying to get Fionna, and this is I think what they're going to try to do first is get Fionna and Cake back in Ice King's head, and he's like, I've got to become Ice King again, and then your universe can live forever. I think he wants to be a hero. Second, I think they might have to,
but they don't want to go back inside his head, right? Because at the end of the episode, they're like, we want to go the ooh and explore and magic and all this stuff. And even Prismo's like, yeah, be free, like go, run and don't stop running. He's coming for you.
And that's where I think they're going to try to. That's going to be the first answer is put him back inside his head, and the second answer I think they're going to pull the entire universe out of Simon's head, like. How to make that stand alone as its own universe, essentially. How to connect it to the web. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know how that will happen, but I assume that they're going to try option A and then move to option B.
Yeah, I think it also totally confirms that their presence is super unnatural, and it's going to cause major issues for like the fabric of the multiverse or the fabric of time or whatever. Let's see. Prismo says just the fact that you exist could have totally unpredictable effects on the other realities.
That's what happened when
the hot dog
night turned into a hot dog. And like, so we're going to start seeing it's maybe the same effects of whatever Golb had on Ice King. It's like strip you down to your bare form. That's what that's going to be like. Their presence in anything magical in the universe will strip it to its bare form. So we might see, if they run into a version of Jake, we might see Jake as being stripped back down into a real dog. There's 1,000 things that could obviously happen too. So,
well, why didn't they make a wish, Ned? Why didn't they just make a wish, huh? They got Prismo there. They literally
very true.
Just solve everything with the right wish.
That's maybe Prismo can't grant a wish that would affect anything in the web because they're disconnected from the web. So it almost like granting them a wish would have alerted. Yeah, it would have connected that universe to the web. It would have not worked because it's not connected to the web.
And he's logging his wishes. He's got that wish log that he's got to show his boss every evening.
Yeah. You can get real, and now you know that he has a boss, and that this has something to do with the structure of cosmic beings. He does probably have to like report this in as a job,
Yeah, dude, I feel bad for Fionna. I mean, I feel most bad for Simon in this episode because of all that he had to relive. He resaw that scene with Betty. I mean,
poor guy, just in there getting plastered, dude, on
just
Prismo's
drink it as much as he can. But I felt bad for Fionna too because she had that existential crisis as they're running through that hallway, right? Where she's like, "Are we not real?" And Cake, I mean, the Jake of this world, Cake, freaking has her back and it's like, who cares that he made us? Like, we're gonna make like our own story from here on out. So I loved that moment. I thought it needed to happen because could you imagine what if you found out your reality? I mean, that you lived your entire life was fake, was a TV show.
Isn't that such a recurring theme of Adventure Time though? Like coming to terms with your creator or coming to terms with like either your mortality in the face of like, I know where I'm come from, but the only thing that matters is where I'm going kind of mentality. I think that reappears a lot in Adventure Time, and especially they're like, I loved it. I didn't have it as my tops, but had it in my notes that just like, it is really cool that they face their creator. And then at the same time, they're like, come on, Simon, like we're going to help you. You're our only shot of getting our universe back. And it's all forward. It's all moving forward for them, which is really cool.
Yeah, the only hope of saving everybody in their multiverse or in their universe and not having it destroyed by Scarab, which a fascinating concept. I thought the whole episode, I mean, I'm not summing up what we just talked about yet, but it was so good, dude. I really enjoyed this episode.
I liked
it. Geek out.
I mean, dude, we're geeking out over it too, but it wasn't like overwhelming. Like, I feel like they could have made it so multiverse and so trippy and so many things crossing over, blah, 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 that we are taking it down. And maybe it's a dumbed down version of it, but I was like, this was digestible for this heavy and intense of an episode, which is very nice.
Yeah, I mean, really, if you think about the action of what actually happened in this episode, not much did. You know, they came to the time room, they went and hid in the time room somewhere else. Some other bad guy came in and then went and tracked them down. And all it is like exposition. And here's a bunch of lore. Here's a bunch of things that you need to know, but we're telling it to you in a very smooth and kind of enjoyable fashion. Mm-hmm. So I think they did what they needed to do for this episode to set up again for the rest of this little series really, really well.
Yeah, that's that. And I'm, like I said, I'm glad. I think I was so wanting to start the next episode immediately when this one was done. But I was like, shoot, if I do the podcast while having already watched it, I'm going to spoil it. I'm going to say something too far. I need my theoretically speakings to live kind of in the moment. So we are releasing this when there's already maybe 3 or 4 more episodes out. So we're a little behind. It's a lot to process and podcast on and prep for.
It is. It's a ton. And talking about, the dude that I also felt bad for, Simon, he's naked this whole episode. He's like naked and drinking. And I was really shocked at how funny that was to me, because I know we ripped on Adventure Time a little bit in the first season for just being so like, oh, there's a butt joke. There's another butt joke. Jokes. But I don't know why. I giggled out loud for almost all of the butt jokes when he falls down the steps and he's not wearing underwear. Why is he not wearing underwear?
He's not wearing underwear. Wyatt had a fart joke when he got touched by the train. I thought it was funny. We got the butt joke, but the funniest part is like Simon's just like so unfazed by it. He's just like, what do you want?
Yeah, and also he's tripped out when he finds out that Fionna and Cake were real the whole time. He's just like, oh shit! Like I'm gonna go get a beer. Give me another beer. I can't believe that was actually real and not just some random fan fiction. The Ice King made.
I mean, there's so much of his time as the Ice King. He probably he knew he was insane. So it's kind of like, oh my gosh, if this wasn't part of my insanity, then what else wasn't part of my insanity? Like, how normal. And I think that could be kind of that he might find this balance of, well, he's depressed because he's not with Betty and things are not the same as they always were. And it's stripped down to his bare form. And he was happy as the Ice King, but insane. So is there some sort of happy balance of just like becoming a little bit more like the happy version of Ice King, but the, down to earth version of Simon that, are we going to go for a happy medium between the two of those?
I don't know if you can, because of the will of the crown, right? I think if the crown works kind of like the ring does, which I'm assuming there's some similarities in that, like you're just drawn to want to use it more and want to have the crown on.
But remember, the crown is missing one of the jewels. So maybe he can get one of the. So that's in my next theories. When we saw the ice thing, where flying around with one jewel missing. There's a quick blip at the very end of the last episode where we see him give the. And this is not a spoiler. It's literally like a 4-second clip, just like they're doing like a montage, and the ice thing gives Turtle Princess like an engagement ring made out of the third stone. So Turtle Princess has it, to our knowledge.
Okay.
And I think maybe that will help him maintain a little bit more sanity. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't think there is a happy medium. I think there's just no way for that to be the case unless he has some sort of another jewel that counteracts. I think it would just be way too complicated and unnecessary. I think he's making a sacrifice. I think what we learned about Simon is that he's a helper at his heart, is that he wants to help other people. He wanted to help Marceline, even though it meant like wearing the crown and going insane and potentially hurting her. But so I'm trying to think about, as part of the episode of what you learn about the crown itself, there is an essence of the Ice King / Ice Elemental that doesn't have to be magical. That the crown itself is kind of a weird, distorted version of that magic, if that makes sense.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know how to like phrase that without spoiling too much.
Fine.
But
that's fine.
That's good. Well, we don't have to only talk about theoretically speaking this episode too. I just have a lot of them that, like I said, at least this episode answered more questions than made me have any.
But well, that's great. I mean, as a longtime fan, I'm sure that's what you were hoping for to get at some point, especially if there were a bunch of plot holes, right? And I don't know if any plot holes were filled up, but
I mean, the Fionna and Cake plot hole was absolutely answered. Where do they come from? Yeah. Who are they? Are they a different universe? Are they real? Are they a figment of Ice King's imagination that will become real? Was all questions that we had. So that's absolutely answered. And I think they did it in a really cool way of like, yes, they were real, but they were so not part of the webbed universe that we would have never interacted with anybody in that universe before, which is a good kind of like, I think, canon thing to know. Like with all Finn's wishes and with everybody's kind of wishes, different time like branch outs, that again, there's never officially been a crossover moment between the Fionna and Cake universe and Ooh before this.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, man, I do have a most punchable character from this episode.
Okay,
I wonder how you're going to feel about this. Prismo. Prismo is the most punchable character of this episode.
No, I think I'm with you. I'm or partway with you. What's your reasoning?
Well, first off, he's using some old man as a battery, and that's super not cool.
Yeah.
All right, spoiler territory.
Yeah, spoiler drop. That is Prismo.
That old man is Prismo?
Prismo is the dream of an old man.
Okay.
So that's why that old man's asleep.
So I guess that's okay for him to use it as a battery. I don't know.
It's kind of like using himself as a battery.
Yeah. Okay.
It's interesting though, because if that old man wakes up, then Prismo ceases to exist. So
he's been asleep for eons.
Yeah.
What?
Again,
oh my gosh!
All of this happens, I think, in season 5 and 6. So
yeah, that's fine. We're basically there. Yeah. The other reason why is putting a universe in someone's already like labyrinth level messed up mind is also not cool. Like he didn't really. I mean, he asked for permission to do it. I mean, I think oh gosh, I don't know where the quote is, but I even had the quote where he's like, "Hey, Ice King, do you mind if I store a fan-made alternate universe in your cursed dome?" But Ice King's insane. Like that's not really.
Yeah, you can't ask an insane person. It's not really true consent. So
yeah, certainly. But it's cool, man.
It's enough.
Otherwise, he holds Scarab off at the end, and that's cool. I do appreciate that. So
yeah, I think he's owning up to his mistakes is what he's doing. He's taking responsibility. He wants to make it right. That's why he kind of tricks them into being like, okay, Simon, you opened that portal back up and we're just going to get him back in there. So it's kind of like he's trying to cover up his own mistakes. It's kind of like he's trying to be responsible. But in the end, he does stand up and he's like, no, they're allowed to do whatever they want. Like, screw you and your rules. He does do like a very stick it to the man mentality and like going like, dude, I created a universe of like awesome characters that are, have their own free will. And like, who are you to tell me that they can't exist, So.
Yeah. Well, man,
I don't know.
What is your most punchable character this episode, or do you not really have one?
I don't know if I necessarily had one. I'm trying to think. I mean, Simon is kind of punchable to me in this one because
poor guy.
I mean, it is a poor guy mentality, but like, come on, like about Fionna and Cake. They're like now relying on you. You just had Prismo say like, there's a universe inside your head that exists. And then he's going to just be like, oh, and he's like, screw you. It doesn't matter if we all die. And I'm like, come on.
I don't know, but he just had to relive that moment with Betty. I can't help but sympathize with him or empathize with him a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I get that moment, but that's why I think probably my favorite part of the episode is where Simon redeems himself. And he's like, okay, I have to become the Ice King to get your universe back for all eternity, which means he's kind of committing to the bit of like, you're going to exist forever from now on.
Yeah. I mean,
which is a little sad. It's a little dark, but yeah.
Yeah. My favorite part of the episode is certainly in that same moment because of Cornworld. How awesome is Cornworld?
I think
let's just hang out there for a bit.
It's not a spoiler, but the next episode is about the Destiny Gang. So I think we're back in Farm World, which is why the corn
we're not
there.
The Destiny Gang. Really? Is that where we're going with this?
I think we're coming back with the Destiny Gang is going to be part of this next episode. Okay. Yes. Which is funny in my opinion, but
I know. Again, another rant like the squirrel. First, we had an episode partially about the squirrel. Now we're going to bring back the Destiny Gang.
Yeah, we're going to have good call. I think, but all the callbacks right now, I don't think there's been any like terrible callbacks. Like Choose Goose's character was ridiculous.
Yeah,
the squirrel was a good choice. All the callbacks in the last episode, like Big Beardy Finn, like. To help Simon now. Like we've had really delicate, and I don't think they'll do the Destiny Gang dirty anyway.
Okay. Well, in my mind, I'm just going to say we're in Corn World and leave it at that for now. Until I watch the next episode, that's what happened at the end of this episode.
I almost wanted to say, was this a universe in Rick and Morty where everything was on a cob?
Everything's on a cob. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I love that concept, though.
I do too.
It always comes back to Rick and Morty, doesn't it?
Oh, well, it does for one of our co-hosts. The other one, One Piece.
Other one, oh yeah, and then here's where this is. And this is
hey, I didn't do that this episode. You're the one who brought up, your favorite show. So
we're gonna have to do. I know once the live action one gets more episodes, I know it's gonna be harder and harder for you to not reference it too.
Dude, it's great. I mean, I'm way past where they're at with the live action One Piece. So,
I know that.
I mean, they just summarized the first 49 or so episodes, I want to say, and then they put it into 8 episodes of the live action. It's a lot of information densed into a very short series, but it was done very well. So
good.
No complaints here.
One more thing I wanted to see what your thoughts are because I don't know, maybe I was tired watching this episode, but it's always just a concept I have a hard time of grasping, is when they were in the center of the time room and there's the giant sundial and the giant, what do you call it? Sundial. And then the, what do you call it? Sanddial as well. Is that what it's called?
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Beating each other with hammers. And every time they do that, it's trillions of waves.
Yeah, and the time core.
Which is the time core. It is, how the rest of the universe experience, which means that I assume universe is closer to the time room. Time goes faster than they are.
Maybe?
Then they have more time waves happening. And I just feel like every time I get into the thoughts about time is a wave and then gravity, and then that means that if gravity is similar to a 3-dimensional world, then time acts as the second dimension, trips me out, gets me thinking I almost maybe could have been an astrophysicist if I just really tried harder.
You'd be in there being let me talk about, this reminds me of Rick and Morty. And they'd be like, dude, astrophysics, come on.
I'm
messing with you, Ned.
Oh, no, trust me. It makes me be like, I want to do this podcast about this episode specifically with Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah.
So he can talk about time waves from a time box in the universe.
But also it's the two titans that aren't alive that are bashing each other in the head, causing sends time waves throughout the multiverse. I mean, it's just an interesting concept in general. I wonder if that's going to come back. One of them even had a crack on its head, which is fascinating. I wonder if that had anything to do with the crossover, having Fionna and Cake in the world, if that's always been there or not. I mean, they didn't mention it. No one commented on that, but that would be a fascinating thing to see again at some point. So they could even use, and I don't know if they will or not, but the slamming noise that they had and then all the lights could be like something you hear later on in the episode, or episodes as it gets kind of more messed up. Even like the intro song kind of has, it seems like the fabric of the intro to these episodes is kind of messed up in a way. And I wonder if it, again, in relation to Fionna and Cake being there, because it wasn't messed up in that first episode before the crossover occurred.
Yeah, I'm thinking, well, we could go again crazy theories, but you're right though that with now I'm piecing it together. If I was writing the show, I'd be like, Fionna and Cake mess up the entire universe. Scarab has a redeeming moment, comes back because he wanted to be the Wishmaster. That was his right. He goes back because he thinks the time core is so cool, reverses time, and then sends the universe back into order by sacrificing himself. That would be kind of like maybe my theory.
Yeah. I don't really have a theory with where we're going with this. If it's going to be Scarab as the main bad guy, we need to see more of him. He's kind of flat at the moment. I'd like to see
he'll get three-dimensional.
More dynamic. Yeah.
They did little moments like they do in shows. They called him Scrabby, like
Scrabby,
and they're kind of making him seem like goofy and
so they went to college
insecure
together,
about himself,
or high school or something.
So that like they were in college buddies or something like that. All these cosmic college buddies or something. that's what we can call ourselves, Russell. We'll call ourselves Cosmic
Al, the frat guy. Dude, Cosmic Al is for sure in a fraternity.
Yeah, I think so. He wants Prismo also. He's got the main thing he has in his time room is hot tubs and beer, and likes to party.
And pickles.
And he's got
lots of pickles.
I think the pickle. Yeah, actually, you know what? Maybe my tops is the fact that he just has a whole pickle cellar with like big old barrels too. That might be my tops.
Pretty good tops.
Well, do you have any like lessons that you have from this one?
A personal life lesson that I'm going to take away from this episode with me on the day-to-day. Yeah, I do have one actually. It's don't be afraid to ask for some undies. Others will thank you. That is the lesson I learned. Dude,
that's not bad.
Simon could have just been like, hey, Prismo, I need underwear, bud. I can't be like this whole time. some undies. Give me undies.
Give me those undies, man. I had a good lesson.
What's your lesson?
Decent lesson, I think. It's two opposite lessons because they conflict with each other. For the Prismo aspect, if you're a bum, don't like shirk your responsibilities. He ignored the crossover, and even if he hadn't ignored it, Scarab would have never like come to notice it. But he's just being a bum, and he's shirking all of his responsibilities and not caring. But
he also slipped up constantly throughout this episode and kind of shot himself in the foot by revealing what was going on,
But also at the same time, you see both Prismo and Cairo Siphon, which is the tea god. Both of these kind of cosmic beings wanted to pursue what their passions were. Cairo Siphon's passion was to go do this tea room. Prismo wanted to like write he was so inspired by Jake and Finn that he like had to, be create, not just accidentally make wish universes out of other people's wishes. He wanted to have his influence on the world. So in that, like, pursue your own dreams, like control your own destiny. Just don't be a bum and shirk your responsibilities. Be productive doing it. So I don't know. They're kind of opposite lessons, but they go one and the same.
Yeah, cool. No, that's good, man. I don't really have any other thoughts. I mean, it's a great episode. I think this series so far has been top notch.
Yes.
Even the third episode was pretty good. So
I know.
I'm really excited to see where it goes. I feel a little bad for the freaking, what is his name? The elephant seal, Wyatt. The poor guy. But it's, the monkey's paw concept. Like, I'm sorry, dude, but that's just how it works.
Yep. And that means Prismo being so depressed is that the monkey's paw effect is like even worse.
Yeah, it totally is. He almost dies from a train hitting him.
Yeah,
and then
also that would be a terrible universe.
That blows.
That would be a terrible universe to live in, no matter if it was tied to a train tracks or not.
Yeah, yeah,
that'd be terrible.
That's the worst. So it's kind of Steamboat Willie or whatever. But I guess that's the point.
Coming from Disney World, I was like, yep, that's Steamboat Willie.
Well, y'all, thank you so much for joining us. I guess we'll wrap up just a touch earlier than we normally do. We've got a Patreon
50 minutes
now.
for a 30-minute episode's not bad. But yes, tell these lovelies and sexies about our Patreon.
Man, we've got the dopest Patreon. It's really cool because we have a lot of the DJs that have been, not real DJs, the travelers that have written into the Traveler's Log. They're all a part of the Patreon right now. And we're talking in the Discord, which is really rad. You can join Patreon as a $5 or $10 tier in order to join the Discord, get the new NEA and Beyond podcast that we're doing just for the Patreon, and also stickers for that podcast's title card will also be sent to you if you sign up for those tiers. There's also a $1 tier if you just want to support. You'll get the newsletter and the right to vote and ideas and thoughts and what we should do on the podcast. But anything helps a ton, helps us pay for production and everything. And, we really appreciate everybody who signed up so far. It's been awesome getting to know everybody a little bit better. And honestly, I'm really enjoying NEA and Beyond. We talked about fall things, video games. We got to come up, Ned, I got a really good concept actually where I think maybe Allie has us kind of guess and try and figure out like what Disney film we're talking about with just the plot.
Oh yeah, we're just doing like obscure plot lines.
Yeah, I think that could be really fun. Yeah. So we'll talk about that and figure it out. Yeah,
but yeah, odds are these kind of conversations that Russell and I talk about Adventure Time, we also talk about pretty much lots of other things in the same way, which is our whole secondary podcast. Which we will also be doing more of that probably when Fionna and Cake is wrapped up, because all of our energy is kind of put into keeping up with 2 episodes a week of Fionna and Cake, which is
best we can.
A lot.
But then we'll obviously get back to season 5 at some point in the not so far future. Check us out on Instagram at Never Ending Adventure Podcast, TikTok at Never Ending Adventure Cast, Twitter at NEA_podcast. Email us your thoughts, your opinions. Get on the Traveler's Log at NEA.travelerslog@gmail.com. And you can also email us if you wrote a review on Apple Podcasts and you want a sticker of the NEA podcast title card or whatever they're called. You can do that, and we'll send you a sticker. And we've got a couple people as well. Stickers are on the way. Man, yeah, thank you so much for joining. I'm pumped. Ned, we're gonna freaking blow through this series. It's been so good. So
yes, I'm about to say we're gonna record again tomorrow, which means that we're gonna have like 2 episodes out this week.
Time to prep. Time to
prep.
End this and go prep.
I know we're gonna be like, we're gonna, get done with this series and like come back to season 5. It's gonna be such like a breath of fresh air. We're gonna be like, oh my gosh, like 10-minute, easy, digestible episodes that we can just not have to like feel like we are. It feels like we're doing a podcast on 3 episodes at once, like with some of these too.
It does. I mean, this was such a long episode again, but for such little action, it's very fascinating how that worked out.
Yeah,
but
it's a little action, but for sure a lot of in-depth stuff. And I feel like there's some stuff we're not talking about too, just for like references of characters, like the Martin character. I wanted to talk about that, but we'll save that. We'll save that for the future.
Yeah, and the drift. I know the drift comes up in the future because I was curious about where they were at the beginning with Sammy's tea house. So, that's but those are little things. That's not that important. Yeah. Well, y'all, thank you so much. We'll talk to y'all as soon as we get this next episode out, and Ned, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll talk tomorrow, big boy. Love that you guys.
Right. Party forever.